let's go watch it in 2D. No, let's go watch it in 3D. But if we watch it in 3D, then is it worth the cost?
Clade family.
I want you to come with me on an expedition.
Just crash landed.
Where in the world are we?
In a strange world.
Will you get that off your head?
Now they must come together.
They're finally getting along.
Right?
They're basically the same person.
Watch out!
My bad.
To find their way home.
Come on, we got a world to save.
I'm for a barbecue. How are you, my dad?
When two people love each other.
Stop talking! Stop talking!
Disney's Strange World.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Adolf, and I have with me Jacob.
Hi, everybody.
And today we're reviewing a new 3D movie, Strange World, a Disney animated movie. Now, as always, we'll talk about the 3D aspect first. Now, new Jake, you wrote the review. Jacob, what's your thoughts on the 3D itself?
Editor's choice. Fantastic.
Now, why is that?
It is just beautiful. It was just constant pop out and pop in. Depth, color was great. It was just a feast for the eyes.
Okay. Any specific scene you want to mention?
I mean, there's just so many to mention. Like early scenes, like when they're in the mountain in the comic book, the panel was like fantastic, and anytime there's like particles floating in, it was just
Yeah, there's a scene early in the mountains with a lot of snow, and it was like, oh wow. I saw this movie too this morning, so I'm very fresh with this movie experience for me. So yeah, that scene was really nice. There definitely is a lot of really nice moments. I do feel like they could have gone even stronger, but they know it's animated and it's kind of a aim for kids. So not really aim for kids, but they know kids are going to watch it. So maybe they don't like push it to 11 when they could. But I felt like it's on that edge for me too.
Oh yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? We're like, okay, they could, I felt like it's not directly comparing it, but like the Dragon movies, they always reached out to be like, they don't care if the kids watch it and get eye strained. They're going to go all the way. And like this went almost all the way, but not quite. But I agree with you. I really did love this 3D. Moment after moment, there's some good depth here, good uses of depth. There's just a lot of fun imagery that works really well. And there was one time with ghosting, but I think that's a theater specific issue. That scene was with I, which I don't want to spoil anymore, so I don't want to say anything else. You know what I'm talking about, Jake?
Yes, but I didn't notice any ghosting during that part. I thought it was razor sharp for me.
Okay, maybe mine was just a little bit off. So I guess for me, maybe because mine was just a little bit not 100%, I might not give it editor's choice. I might give it great 3D, but definitely worth it.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree.
Like that eyeball scene, I feel like one thing should have really popped out, and the other thing should have really gone back, but they didn't do that, at least for my cinema. But there's a lot of cool action scenes, a lot of great visuals here, a lot of stuff that go in and out of the screen, particle effects, like you said, and it looks like not exactly like a movie that was made for 3D, but it definitely looks like they took full advantage of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, 100% agree with that. And like even scenes of darkness, like it was just really good. Like there's an early scene where they're on the farm and you have that plant, and you just kind of see it in the distance with it glowing, and it's just like, that's a nice effect.
Yeah, even the dark scenes look really nice, and it's on that edge for me. I would have, if they would have pushed a little more, a couple of little things, but maybe my theater was a little bit off, but I definitely see what you saw and agree that this is a whole lot of fun to watch in 3D and definitely worth it. So, I mean, I'm just like 85% there. Maybe my theater wasn't 100%, but I went at 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday, so maybe they didn't warm up the projector enough or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It could have been. It also depends on where you sit at too. Sometimes.
Yeah, I said dead center.
Oh, you too. I was the only one in the theater.
I had a couple kids there and their parents. It wasn't too bad though. But yeah, there's a lot of good camera work. I think a couple scenes could have been a little stronger, but I understand Disney didn't necessarily want to. They know a lot of younger kids may watch it and they don't want to get like, oh my god, this is too much. So
Right.
I get it. But yeah, there's a lot of cool depth. There's a really cool amount of pop-ins, and it really feels like you're there with the guys, with the people and the characters.
Yes, it's a lot more stronger than some of the other more recent Disney animated movies. But
yeah. This is very, very, very strong. You said probably some of the best Disney animation has done. Do you stand by that? Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely compared to I think it's fair because the trailer was there in front of this movie, but Elemental 3D was kind of blah, not even there.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, there's some nice depth, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, it definitely looked better than that. I didn't have Avatar in front of me or anything else to really have a judge of wow factor, but it's definitely a newer theater, so it's not like it's a bad theater. But I definitely think there's a lot of really cool stuff here, and a lot of the different creatures and just the cinematography, just having all these weird, colorful things going around, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. It's flying around here, flying around there. And it's not like they don't gimmicky it too much, really. But
yeah, well, yeah, which is good. It's a bit more natural 3D.
Yeah, it's really well done.
Good.
All right, so final verdict. You give it editor's choice. I'll give it just great. But we're very close.
Yes.
Now on to the movie itself. So it's always weird whenever I edit one of your reviews and I haven't watched the movie, because I kind of feel like your review will frame my reference. And, obviously I try not to watch or see other reviews beforehand. And definitely I agree with you, just like I do with the 3D. So you're not far off base here. It definitely is a treat for the eyes, but it's kind of just a very forgettable family movie. And
yes.
It's in some ways it's interesting because in some ways it's very progressive, but in some ways it's very traditional as well.
It's sometimes too traditional.
Like, this has an openly gay main character. It has interracial marriage, and even has avocado toast, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
And it does have a classic old school 1950s adventure time, or not even 50s, like 30s or 40s serial adventures, kind of thing. And like what inspired Indiana Jones, that kind of let's go up for adventure, and like kind of what Up was kind of going for, that old school kind of adventure sense. So this is not based on a comic book, or it is? I was kind of confused.
Yeah. Like I was kind of looking up the movie, and there's like the trivia on IMDb.com, and there's like 2 different Strange World comic book series back in the 50s. So, but like I didn't look at anything. Like I looked at the listing on IMDb about the writing credits. It was an original story. So.
Yeah, and it's an original story in that we never seen anything exactly like this. This is not a sequel, not a reboot, but it is absolutely cliche and not at all something that we've seen this kind of movie 100 times, if not 1,000 times. It's all about will the son follow in the father's footsteps? No, and we've seen this 100 times, and this movie does have every cliche there. All the tropes. Now, even though it has these tropes and cliches, it has all of them. Everything that you would kind of expect from this kind of movie. There's a big twist, which is kind of a regular thing for this kind of movie. I won't say the twist. But I do feel like it was pretty much predictable, and they're kind of going on a journey. And the end result is something that I was like, if you think about it for too much, you're like, no, that doesn't really work out. How does that work?
Yeah, it's just like it was an interesting idea, and I kind of seen what they were going to go with, but the writing didn't hold up to scrutiny, how it played out in the end.
So, basic story here: we have Jaeger Clad and his son Searcher, and Jaeger is an adventurer. He wants to explore the world, and he wants to specifically go beyond the mountains because their town is in the middle of a valley, and no one's ever crossed those mountains, and they want to go. And Searcher is his son, and they've gone on these adventures, and they've never been able to, they found different things, and they've never been able to cross the mountains. They want to cross those mountains. And through a series of events, the father goes missing. And eventually, we find out that as they're trying to cross these mountains, they find a plant. And this plant can generate electricity, and they call it Pando.
Pando, yes.
So the son brings Pando back to his town of Avonia, and it's an awesome source of electricity and really powers up their innovation and technology. This Pavo can power a blender. It can even be used to power aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
But there's an issue with this Tavo, and the leader of the world summons them to come, and because they're getting sick, and everything they've worked on for the last 25 years might be in play because it's getting sick. So they have to travel to find out the answers. And when they travel, they find some people from the past and find a very interesting and strange world.
Mm-hmm.
So we did say, I do like the characters. I do like them.
Yeah, as cliched as they are.
The main kid here, his son, the grandson, he's gay, but you never see anything explicit. He has a love interest that is a male. And their Searcher is married to a black woman, and so their son is interracial. That is okay, that's kind of progressive, but the whole storyline about, we're going to find the father, we're going to find a cure for this thing, we're going to, father and son hate each other because they're just like each other, and, there's a twist at the end, and, we've seen this 100 times, and it's not bad. I like the movie. I did find it interesting to visually watch, but the substance isn't really there.
Yeah.
It's the very typical Disney formula, and it's something that looks pretty, sounds pretty. Now, you really like the sound in this, right?
Yes, the sound design was one of the best aspects. It was just kind of unique. Of course, they could have pushed it a little further to make it more alien or weird, but that the character of Splat, it kind of made me think of WALL-E because it was just entirely like through sound. You can kind of get what he's trying to communicate, but not really. They're just quirky and different.
Yeah, and the visuals are distinctive. It's all pink and very different. You never really see anything like this before. It's not super funny. There's like really not that many laughs here. There isn't that many. It doesn't. I don't think it made me cry. I don't feel like there's any moments that made you cry. I don't know about you.
I mean, I wasn't bored either. It's just I was there.
All right, so what score do you give it?
I gave it a 6 out of 10, and I stand by that.
I agree. I give it a 6 too. I want to give it more. My heart wants to say 7 or 8, but I know it really isn't that good. And I know you're right. You're absolutely right about everything here. And it's sad because it could be better, but it's cool. It's a good movie. It's a fun time. It's great 3D, but it's something that you're going to forget a month later, a week later, and it's sad.
I mean, I've already kind of sort of forgotten it already, honestly. It's just that forgettable, which is sad because the 3D is so good.
Yeah. All right. I guess it's going to be it for us in this spoiler-free one. Look out for the spoiler-filled podcast soon. That's it for us. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Before this podcast wraps up, I want to thank my patrons. Thank you, Mr. Bungle 5, Kano 3D, Gravity Head Zero, Alex Folk, and Kevin Winter for your financial support on Patreon.com. You can find 3D or 2D on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, and more. Just look for 3D or 2D. Thank you for either listening or watching this podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye.